Thank you for watching the Batzz YouTube channel. If you'd like to keep up with Buddyfight news, we have it all over on BatzSpoiler.com. And if you'd like to join in our community, be sure to go check out the links in our description to our Facebook, Twitter, and Discord where we post about all our news at the earliest time available. If you'd like to support our content here on YouTube and on our site, throw us $1 on Patreon. If you'd like to support our site and our content, throw us $1 on Patreon. It'll help us more than any amount of ads you click on our site and on YouTube. Links to all of those are in the description, and with that said, on to the video. I don't really have a choice but to cover this one, right? So, CoroCoro dropped, and with it we got the 2 final trump cards of Buddyfight X. One of them will be dropping in the Ultimate Booster, which will be coming to us in Booster Set 4 Alternative New World Chaos. And the other is Gauss, which is going to be in the first set of X2 Buddy Legends. This is Divine Protection of Batzz, Dragonification, Dragon Fang. And because it specifically plays with Turbulent Warlord, Turbulent Warlord Dragon, Batzz Dragon Royale, the card I talked about in the last card review, I feel like I don't really have a choice but to talk about this card. So, before we get into it though, I just want to touch on something. So, since I did that video, tops from Japan have started coming in, and Dragon Royale has actually ended up as a pretty common one-off tech in the Satsuki G based Thunder Emperor Fang decks that have been running around. Since you can pretty easily retrieve it with the new spell that they got, Awakening of the Crimson Thunder Emperor, the deck can pretty easily toolbox it from the drop when they're in a situation to use it. And because of how the deck is now built, you have these overturns from Jack and Satsuki that you very frequently want to use, that you want to be able to use. Like, it's specifically with Jack. Like, if you go for Jack's overturn to nullify something, it's cool to have a tech around that you can use to get a big once per game push play. And that's basically what Batzz Dragon Royale is run for in that deck. Also because the main boss in that deck is awakened as Thunder Emperor bots, the triple rare from Driven to Disorder. It doesn't have a gauge call cost, it just has to kill a Thunder Emperor on your field. So it's much more gauge friendly to getting that whole overthrow play off. So just generally works as a tech there. I was prepared, like I mentioned in that video, that I was prepared for it to end up as like a tech option. But that video was more about weighing the freak out and panic over this card being what Thunder Emperor was going to revolve around, and this card being some unstoppable menace that's super power creep and impossible to deal with when it really isn't. So I think I accomplished that goal, but I have noticed some people parroting it as this card is just complete garbage trash, no use in anything ever. And I want to stop that before we get into this because it's very relevant to this card. So Divine Protection of Batzz, Dragonification, Dragon Fang is effectively a 10-2-4 transform. It has a new transform-like keyword called Dragon Eyes. They always go with different flavors for these keywords depending on what kind of transformation into a monster it is. So, you know, all makes sense. You put a bots from your drop zone into its soul and you pay 1 gauge. Pretty cheap cost. It's carrying Soul Guard and Double Attack. It has the Cannot Be Pressed and Cannot Be Nullified abilities of Batzz Dragon Royale. It gains all Overthrow in its soul. So it gains all abilities, all Overthrow abilities of the cards that are in its soul, and you can use Overthrow twice during that game. So basically, what's going to happen in the anime, there's going to be the first Overturn turn, Gal's going to go in, then the next turn he's going to Batzz Dragon Royale, and then the turn after that he's going to go into this and Overthrow again. That's what's going to happen. Okay. So, this card does lose a couple of the weaknesses of Batzz Dragon Royale. Shadow Stitch, which isn't a card specifically mentioned, but falls in the same camp as Drago Trap and was mentioned in the comments. Shadow Stitch can only be used on monsters, so it will not work against Dragonification Dragonfang. But really, really, it's fine because while this card can potentially put out some powerful plays, and I really like its aesthetic and its concept, and it's a great climax card that you can have a lot of fun with. The core issue with it is that it retains the majority of Barboss Drago Royale's weaknesses, is not as techable because you need to get that Barboss Drago Royale in the drop zone. You can't search this with Attract. Like, basically, you need to build around this card more than you need to do with Drago Royale, but you can just tech in at one, get in the drop zone, boom, bam, we're all good. But then here's the other problem. Okay, so it doesn't have the Overthrow inherently. It inherits it from its soul. It only has one soul. So, basically, if you hit this card with one Destruction in the main phase, one Bounce in the main phase, well, no, not Bounce, because they'll just return to hand and then redo it. That's not relevant. So if you hit with one Destruction in the main phase, or one soul removal in the main phase, it just gets completely shut down. So, like, I'm not saying that those answers are going to be super common. I'm not saying that those answers are going to be super common for decks to be carrying. However, when you add those on top of all of the inherent weaknesses that we already went over last time with Barboss Drago Royale, when you add on to that these weaknesses, then, you know, it's a bit of a problem. And actually, let me check something real quick. So yeah, while you can give Warlord Crimson Thunderwave's ability to this card, technically, you need to also have another bot on your board. So that is a bit of a problem with the deck. That is a bit of a conundrum. So yeah, this is a really cool climax card. I just want to establish that I like this card. I like this card a lot. Like, when I'm talking about a big hyped up card, when I'm talking about these big hyped up cards, what I'm trying to do with these videos is die down the excitement, like, not the excitement, the freakouts. I want to dull the freakouts and the panics by people who might not realize that this isn't that big of a deal. Because these cards are exciting, and it's really easy to buy into the hype, and if you're not super competitive, you won't instantly realize the weaknesses that the card has. I do feel sometimes I tend to be a bit more negative towards cards, thinking mostly about their weaknesses and what can heck them up. But that just comes from how I am as a player. When I'm like, I'm most focused in testing on, okay, how can I get the best overall matchups? I'm like very typically thinking about like my matchups against everything. Like how are my matchups across the board? What's my average? So when I see cards, when I see powerful cards, my mind very typically goes straight to, okay, what are the viable weaknesses of this card, and what decks carry them? So that's why I tend to be that way. But I think it's overall good for the community to have a voice going, okay, guys, calm down. This card is not a big deal. You can have some fun times with it. I'll have some fun times with it. This looks like a fun card to shit around with. But it's not breaking the game. It's like I really love this about Buddyfight, that's able to make these big anime climax cards that are competent enough that they can be pulled off in casual play and have decks built around them, and you can have fun in that way, but are also have enough weaknesses that they aren't going to impact the competitive scene. I really like that. Like, they've done it like this. They've done it like 6 times now. Aquilta is the only time it didn't happen. But like Drum the Future, Hyakugan Yamigeto, Parallel Arts, Eternal Ball Blaster, and the Gone Transform, and Dragon Dry. These are all really cool decks, and I think they're really cool concepts. And they're really fun to pull off. And how Bushiroad is able to create that sense of this anime climax card in real life, without them ever breaking the game with them, except for that one time with the Quota and the 5th Omni Impact thing. It's really commendable, even in this season of X with its problems. And like I really love this kind of thing about Bushiroad. But that is all. Yeah. Next card review is going to be on the other CoroCoro reveal, Gear God version 10,000. So look forward to that, and I'll see you guys next time.